Jessica, Jack Thompson's voice ripped through the cold Texas night. Rain pounded against the highway. Flashing police lights painted the darkness red and blue. A twisted car lay upside down at the bottom of a steep embankment. Smoke drifted into the storm. People were screaming, paramedics were running, and somewhere inside that wreckage was the woman Jack loved more than his own life. His knees hit the wet pavement. His hands shook. Blood ran down the side of his face. He didn't care. Nothing mattered except Jessica. A firefighter grabbed his arm. "Sir, you need to stay back." Jack pulled away. "No, my girlfriend is in there." The firefighter's expression changed. For a moment, he couldn't speak. And that terrified Jack more than anything. Because in that single second, he realized something was terribly wrong. Very wrong. 3 years earlier, Austin, Texas, the summer heat wrapped around the city like a blanket. Construction cranes stretched across the skyline. Traffic crawled through downtown streets. People chased dreams, and Jack Thompson chased survival. At 25 years old, he had exactly $417 in his bank account. His truck was 12 years old. His phone screen was cracked. And the small house he shared with his mother needed repairs they couldn't afford. But Jack never complained. Life had taught him early that nobody was coming to save him. His father died when he was 12. From that moment forward, everything changed. His mother worked double shifts. Bills piled up. Some nights they barely had enough food. Yet somehow they survived. Jack worked every job he could find. Mowing lawns, fixing fences, loading trucks, anything that paid. Years later, all that hard work earned him a civil engineering degree. Now he spent his days helping build highways and bridges across Texas. The paycheck wasn't huge, but it was honest, and Jack was proud of that. He believed that if he kept working hard enough, life would eventually get better. What he didn't know was that life was about to change forever. It happened on a Thursday, a completely ordinary Thursday, the kind of day nobody remembers, until something unforgettable happens. Jack left work exhausted. The Texas sun was beginning to set. His stomach growled. He spotted a small roadside diner he'd never noticed before. The building looked old. The neon sign flickered. Half the letters barely worked. Normally he would have driven past. That night he didn't. One decision, one turn of the steering wheel. That was all it took. The bell above the diner's door jingled as he stepped inside. The smell of fresh coffee filled the air. Country music played softly from a speaker near the kitchen. A few truck drivers sat in booths. An elderly couple shared pie in the corner. Everything seemed ordinary. Then Jack saw her, and suddenly nothing felt ordinary anymore. She stood behind the counter holding a tray. Her chestnut hair fell over one shoulder. Her eyes were warm, gentle, beautiful, but there was something else. Something hidden behind her smile. Sadness, the kind of sadness that doesn't disappear easily. For a moment, time seemed to stop. The noise of the diner faded away. Jack forgot why he had come. Forgot he was hungry. Forgot everything. The young woman looked up. Their eyes met, and the world changed, at least for him. She smiled politely. "What can I get for you?" Jack opened his mouth. Nothing came out. She laughed softly. The sound instantly made his heart race. "Rough day?" she asked. Jack finally smiled. "You could say that." She handed him a menu. "My name's Jessica." Jack looked at her name tag. Jessica, even her name sounded beautiful. "I'm Jack." Neither knew it then, but years later they would both remember that moment perfectly. The exact second their story began. A story filled with love, secrets, heartbreak, betrayal, and a truth so shocking it would change both of their lives forever. Because Jessica wasn't who she claimed to be, not even close, and the secret she was hiding would eventually put everything they loved in danger. Jack couldn't stop thinking about Jessica. The next morning, while inspecting a construction site on the edge of Austin, he caught himself smiling for no reason. A coworker noticed immediately. You win the lottery or something? Mike Carter asked. Jack laughed. No. Then why are you smiling like that? Jack shook his head. Even he couldn't explain it. All he knew was that for the first time in years, he was looking forward to something other than work. The following evening, he returned to the diner. Then he came back again 2 days later. And again after that. At first, he told himself it was because the food was good. But deep down, he knew the truth. It was Jessica. Every conversation felt effortless. Every smile seemed genuine. And every goodbye felt too short. One evening, as the sun disappeared behind the Texas hills, Jessica sat across from him during her break. So what's your dream? She asked. Jack looked surprised. My dream? Yeah. He stared out the window. No one's ever asked me that. Jessica smiled. I'm asking now. Jack thought for a moment. Then he answered honestly. I want to build something that matters. What do you mean? I spend my life helping build roads and bridges. Jessica listened carefully. One day, I want to create something people will remember long after I'm gone. Jessica's eyes softened. That's beautiful. Jack laughed. No one has ever called me beautiful. She rolled her eyes. You know what I mean. For a second, neither spoke. Yet somehow the silence felt comfortable, like they'd known each other for years. Outside, cars passed by. Inside, neither wanted the conversation to end. Weeks passed. Summer slowly settled over Texas. Jack and Jessica grew closer. Very close. They explored Austin together. Walked beside Lady Bird Lake, shared tacos from food trucks downtown, watched fireworks over the river, talked until midnight, sometimes until sunrise. Every day seemed brighter when they were together. For the first time in his life, Jack felt truly happy. And Jessica felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Freedom, because around Jack, she didn't have to pretend. She didn't have to impress anyone. She didn't have to live up to impossible expectations. She could simply be herself. One evening, they sat on a hill overlooking the city lights. A warm breeze moved through the grass. Jessica leaned her head against Jack's shoulder. Neither spoke for several minutes. Finally, she whispered, "Can I tell you something?" Jack nodded. "Anything." Jessica hesitated. Fear flashed across her face. Then she looked away. Actually, never mind. Jack noticed the sadness in her eyes. The same sadness he'd seen the day they met. Whatever secret she carried, it was heavy. Very heavy, but he didn't push. Instead, he took her hand. And for the first time, Jessica felt safe. Really safe. Unfortunately, not everyone was happy about their growing relationship. Several miles away, inside a massive mansion overlooking Austin, a man stared at photographs spread across a desk. The man's name was Robert Williams, one of the richest real estate developers in Texas. Powerful, respected, feared, and Jessica's father, a private investigator, stood nearby. We've been watching her for 3 weeks. Robert's jaw tightened. The investigator handed him another photograph. It showed Jack and Jessica laughing together outside the diner. Robert's expression darkened. Who was he? Jack Thompson, civil engineer. Robert looked through the report. Middle-class income, no criminal record, no wealthy family, no connections, nobody important, at least in Robert's eyes. This relationship ends now, Robert said coldly. The investigator remained silent, because he had learned long ago that arguing with Robert Williams was pointless. Meanwhile, Jack and Jessica knew nothing about the storm approaching. A week later, Jack planned a surprise. A picnic outside Austin. Nothing expensive, nothing fancy, just a quiet afternoon together. Jessica loved it. For hours they laughed, talked, shared stories, created memories. Then something unexpected happened. A black luxury SUV pulled into the parking area nearby. Jessica instantly froze. The color drained from her face. Jack noticed immediately. Jessica, her eyes locked onto the vehicle. Fear, real fear, filled her expression. The driver's door opened. A man in an expensive suit stepped out. Jack had never seen him before. Jessica clearly had, because her hands started shaking. "Jessica," Jack asked again. She stood suddenly. "We need to leave." "What, now?" Before Jack could respond, the man began walking toward them. Slowly, confidently, like he knew exactly who she was, and exactly where she would be. Jessica's heart pounded. The secret she'd been hiding for months was finally catching up to her. The man stopped a few feet away. He looked at Jack, then at Jessica. His expression was cold, professional, almost emotionless. "Miss Williams," he said. Jack frowned. "Williams." Jessica closed her eyes. For a moment, she looked defeated. The man continued, "Your father wants you to come home." Jack felt the world shift beneath his feet. Father, home, Miss Williams. None of it made sense. Slowly, Jessica turned toward him. Tears filled her eyes. "I'm sorry, Jack." His stomach tightened. "Sorry for what?" The words that came next changed everything. "My name is Jessica Williams." Jack nodded. "I know." She shook her head. "No." A tear rolled down her cheek. "You don't." The man stepped aside. Behind him, the Texas sun reflected off the luxury SUV. A symbol of a world Jack had never belonged to. A world Jessica had hidden from him. For months, taking a shaky breath, she finally revealed the truth. "My father isn't just rich." Jack stared at her, confused, worried, afraid. Jessica's voice barely rose above a whisper. "My father owns half the city." And in that moment, Jack realized the woman he was falling in love with had been hiding a secret far bigger than he ever imagined. The question was no longer whether he loved Jessica. The question was whether their love could survive the truth.